Ultimate Doctor Doom. Victor Van Dam of the Ultimate Universe of Earth 1610 was caught in the same accident that gave the Fantastic Four their abilities. For Victor, his flesh was changed into an organic metal, his legs became goat-like and his hands gained claws. With his metal body came the power to alter the density and nature of his skin, forming porcupine-like quills that he could even throw at enemies. This Doctor Doom, just like his Prime Earth counterpart, was an intellectual genius and also a powerful sorcerer, showing the ability to summon creatures like the Lovecraftian Civilpogua, which I'm not even going to try and fix my pronunciation of. He also seemed capable of performing Atlantean magic and apparently grew in his magical proficiency since he claimed to be the Sorcerer Supreme of his Earth when facing Jean Grey in All New X-Men Volume 1, number 36 from 2015. Number 9. House of M. In the warped reality of the House of M, Doctor Doom kind of gets everything he wants, minus his mother, and minus world domination, and minus a lot actually. Okay, he doesn't really get anything he wants completely, but he does become really cool, sort of. He allies with Magneto when the human-mutant war erupts, and when the mutants come out on top, Doom took over the kingdom of New Latveria, marrying his childhood sweetheart Valeria. He found a way to combine magic with technology and cosmic rays to empower himself with a liquid metal body that is virtually indestructible and can be stretched and transformed into weapons. He also upgraded his wife with powers to control mystical shadow constructs, and their adopted son with powers similar to the Human Torch. Teaming up with this reality's Ben Grimm, called just It, they form the Fearsome Four, a strike force used by Magneto to keep other superhumans in line. Number 8. Doom 2099. The Victor Von Doom of the Dark 2099 stories is surprisingly actually the 616 Doom, but transported to the mind of a younger Latvian man. He maintains all of his intellect and inventive genius, and he also gets some upgrades. His body is infused with nanotechnology, which increases his reflexes and strength considerably. But on top of that, Doom wore a sophisticated nuclear-powered adamantium battlesuit, which granted him superhuman strength, contained jets for flight, housed a personal force field, and discharged concussive force blasts. He could also electrify his armor's surface, which is kinda cool. The armor contained a 4-hour air supply and could be sealed for travel into outer space or underwater. His upgraded armor added abilities that allow him to phase, which the original Doom armor could not. The only downside to this variation of Doom is that he is not as adept in the mystical arts, due in part to memory loss. But he is a genius in physics, robotics, cybernetics, genetics, weapons technology, biochemistry, and time travel. And one last little tidbit, he became President of America, so there's that. Number 7. Spider-Man Reign. 35 years have passed. Spider-Man is an old, retired man. Mary Jane Watson has passed away. New York is under the control of dictator Mayor Waters and his police force called Reign. But unbeknownst to most, it was Venom who had been pulling the strings, taking the position of aide to the mayor in the body of Edward Sachs. This version of Venom is much more brooding, maniacal, and downright dastardly than his mainline counterpart, plotting, scheming for the eventual return of his rival. He's a bitter old symbiote since Spider-Man retired, feeling abandoned by the hero and cannot wait to get his hands back on him. He has replicated himself thousands of times, put together the Sinister Six, and has trapped the citizens of New York in the city with his security system known as Webb, that's W-E-B-B. All that, and he is still defeated by the end of the comic. Shame. Number 6. Sorcerer Supreme. On Earth 938, the setting of the 1989 What If issue 52, when Doom failed to rescue his mother's soul from Mephisto, he sought out the Ancient One to learn and train in the mystic arts and be able to finally save her. Now, during the time of his training, he becomes extremely powerful, reaching a level of mystical magical power that made him worthy of being Sorcerer Supreme, while also still being a technological genius and master schemer. He, alongside the Ancient One, freed his mother from Mephisto at the cost of the Ancient One's life. When Mordo tried to take out Doom, Doom implanted a microscopic device inside Mordo's head that would detonate if Mordo ever crossed him again. When Stephen Strange came to seek help from the Ancient One for his damaged hands, Doom just cut them off and replaced them with robotic ones. And he eventually banished the Dread Dormammu from Earth after he invaded. That last feat did fatally wound the new Sorcerer Supreme though, but using his Doombots, he kidnapped Dr. Stephen Strange and used his own personality and memory to overwrite Strange's, turning Strange into a copy of Doom, ensuring his legacy would live on and he could continue to be the Sorcerer Supreme in a new body for basically ever. Number 5. Dr. Juggernaut. Heroes Reborn! Welcome to a world where Tony Stark never built an Iron Man armor, where Thor is a hard-drinking atheist who absolutely despises hammers, where Wakanda is nothing but a myth, and where Captain America was never found in the ice because there were no Avengers to find him. In their place, this world has always been protected by Earth's mightiest heroes, the Squadron Supreme of America. Just like the Justice League, but Marvel. This team does battle with crazy foes, one of which being Dr. Juggernaut. Now if you haven't guessed by now, yes, this is a world where Victor Von Doom took possession of the Gem of Sidorak. And again, yes, this is as completely awesome as you might think it is. His story is one of revenge. He used to be the king of Latveria before that pesky squadron jumped in and turned the government into a democracy with fair elections. Ugh. Doom came in last, and he was eventually banished to the negative zone, but came back with sights set on not just his kingdom, but the whole world. With the powers of Dr. Doom and the Juggernaut, this guy was capable of going up against frickin' Hyperion. He led the Masters of Doom, putting him in charge of crazy powerful villains like Algog, which is Mangog with the powers of Odin, which is just a Black Skull, who is Red Skull plus Venom, and Silver Witch, which is self-explanatory. Oh, and Thanos. Number 4. Doom the Living Planet. The legends go that Dr. Doom of Earth TRN-157, the world of Astonishing Spider-Man and Wolverine, sensing that the end was near, decided to transfer his consciousness into the one thing big enough to contain his absolutely massive ego: a planet. This Doom, the living planet, could travel through space at the speed of light and manipulate matter on a cosmic scale. He also had the means to launch massive planet-wide invasions with an army of Doom bug bots. Now, to be completely open and honest with you, he doesn't last very long in his story. But that's only because he is shot by Wolverine with a weapon that harnesses the entire power of the Phoenix Force and was made for the sole purpose of destroying planets. But the panel where he was floating over New York and bellowing, "Doom hungers." So cool. Number 3. MCU Scarlet Witch. I've said it before, but the MCU nerfs the heck out of most of Marvel's characters. It's upsetting to me, but at the same time, I guess I get it. Having said that though, I think the MCU Scarlet Witch is actually a pretty heavy hitter in comparison to other alternate versions of herself. She handicaps the whole of the Avengers team, sending Hulk into a rampage in Age of Ultron. She sends Vision hundreds of meters deep into the ground in Civil War. She almost completely defeats Thanos by herself in the battle in Endgame. And in WandaVision, she warps reality of an entire town and magically creates her own children. Now, I'm gonna spoil some things about the new Doctor Strange, so you have about 5 seconds to skip to the next point starting now. Alright, if you've seen this movie, you know she is crazy as hell. She's in possession of the Darkhold and is using it to try and basically steal the children of another alternate Wanda. To do this, she uses demons and creatures from other realities trying to capture America Chavez and steal her power to hop through realities. She single-handedly and successfully assaults the Camartage, which was being defended by a literal army of magic users, including Wong and Doctor Strange. She brutally defeats a whole team of the Illuminati from another reality in moments, while inhabiting the body of that reality's Scarlet Witch, and she has Doctor Strange and America Chavez on the run for the whole frickin' movie. Oh, and she looks like Elizabeth Olsen, so that's a superpower all on its own. Number 2, Barbarian Venom. Okay, he's not a barbarian really, but in the War of the Realms, Eddie no longer has the symbiote Venom. He fights as best as he can against the Dark Elves on his own. A War Witch sees his awesomeness and bestows a Dreamstone to him that will give him anything he wants. Now, using this Dreamstone, he is imbued with all the powers of the Venom symbiote, but just quite a bit stronger and with Eddie's complete control, but feeding on his rage. which he shows us when he completely cuts off the arm of the really powerful War Witch and takes on a full force of giants and ogres and trolls and dark elves and a whole bunch of other stuff. But then he faces off against Jack-O-Lantern, also boosted up by another Dreamstone. While this fire-based villain would be a problem for Venom, Eddie gets this stone-looking armor stuff. And this is where we get the Viking barbarian looking Venom. Because he literally looks like a barbarian with a crazy horned helmet with a big axe with all these runes, and he's just so badass. He completely unlocks the seemingly unlimited amount of power from this Dreamstone, just going to town, and he even bonds the symbiote to civilians who join in the fight against the Dark Elves. Eddie literally calls down lightning on Jack-O-Lantern. He's wild. And eventually, this Dreamstone symbiote thing corrupts him a little bit and he gives it up, but damn, I love this story. Check it out. Number 1. God Emperor Doom. During the events of the incursions that would lead to the most recent Secret Wars event, Victor Von Doom, with the help of Molecule Man, gains the powers of all the Beyonders, a race of beings from beyond the multiverse responsible for basically everything there is, and powerful enough to destroy Marvel's various cosmic entities, so that he could forge the remnants of the multiverse together into Battleworld and rule it as God Emperor Doom. While empowered by Molecule Man, God Emperor Doom had the powers of reality warping, matter manipulation, energy manipulation, plus all the super enhancements and his former powers. But just listing his powers isn't going to suffice. It's his feats that truly prove his power. Other than forming Battleworld or Earth 15513, God Emperor Doom has turned Johnny Storm into the son of Battleworld. He has created a new and improved Eye of Agamotto for Doctor Strange, he's completely disintegrated Doctor Strange, ripped Thanos' spine from his body and turned him to ash, de-lifed the Phoenix Force Cyclops, defeated Black Panther, who was wielding the Infinity Gauntlet, created the hammers of his Thor core, and even gave the Thors their power. God Emperor Doom was the third most powerful being in the entire Marvel multiverse, only being surpassed by Molecule Man and the one above all. Number 10. Multiple Man Venom. In the Old Man Logan story, we get a very awesome, if not short-lived look at the Tyrannosaurus Rex that was host to the Venom symbiote. Now, while that is an awesome idea, we learn nothing further about this Venom variant until Old Man Hawkeye, the prequel. In this story, we see a Venom who bonds to the Madrox gang, who have kind of separated from James Madrox. After Venom bonded to the Madrox, they now use their power to duplicate themselves into an army of Venoms, vowing to track down Hawkeye, who had stuck the other Madrox members with plenty of arrows. An army of Venoms chasing you across the country would be terrifying. Luckily, with the help of his friends, Hawkeye is able to trick the symbiote into reducing its number to chase him into the forest, where he bonds with said T-Rex. And now we've come full circle. Number 9. Venom Pool. I'm not talking about the what if Jerry Curl Venom, Deadpool, although he's awesome, and I'm not talking about the Back in Black Deadpool. No. We're talking about the Edge of Venomverse one-shot. In this world, there is a sentient tapeworm discovered by scientists that is being turned into a weapon by said scientists. Scientists, man. They never learn. Deadpool stumbles upon a lab where these tapeworms have taken over the bodies of the scientists here, and they begin to attack Deadpool. Now, lucky for him, there's just a Venom symbiote in a jar, and he breaks and bonds with it, and uses it to absolutely annihilate the tapeworms. He honestly ends up looking really cool, much more armored and alien looking than he did before, which I think there are a lot of allusions to the movie Alien in this comic, but I digress. Venom Pool basically goes around battling these tapeworms, helping delivering mothers and making balloon tapeworm animals for their kids. And he's killing it, until he's snatched away by Captain America Venom, taking him to join the Venomverse team. Number 8. Kingpin Venom. In the alternate Earth TRN 421, we pick up in the year 2061, and Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, has ended the mortal existence of Eddie Brock and taken the Venom symbiote as his own, bonding into this monstrous, massive, fat guy Venom, which is really intimidating already. But what we learn is that Kingpin has modified the symbiote to be able to travel through technology, kind of like how the ultimate version of Iron Man can, but way quicker, way cooler, and way more terrifying. King VENOM, as I'm gonna call him, can basically travel through electricity and the internet. He is seen controlling cars, helicopters, and even electronic billboards, all to pursue Peter Parker's Spider-Man, who has to literally run away because he cannot take on this guy. In the end, Peter had to flee into the woods, where King Venom followed. This part of the fight didn't last very long though, with Peter using the fire from a torch to detach the symbiote from Kingpin, saving the day rather annoyingly. This guy is definitely way too cool to be defeated, but you know, whatever. Number 7. Ultimate Scarlet Witch. The Scarlet Witch from the Ultimate Comics universe of Earth 1610 could teleport, fly, and create far more powerful disruptions with her powers thanks to her actual mutant ability of probability manipulation, which required her to do the math to assess the probability of an effect she wanted to make happen, which is such a nerdy but cool way to see her power. She was a more considered and patient Scarlet Witch, and she never lashed out in the same way the Earth 6161 did. And she even helped lead the Brotherhood of Mutants for a while, all the while keeping in touch with Charles Xavier to promote a more peaceful mutant-human integration, which is really nice. She did also have magical abilities which she inherited from her mother, the Witch of Wundagore, Magda. Wanda didn't really have control of her magical abilities though, which was obvious since she unintentionally used them to bend time and space to summon dinosaurs to the Savage Land. That sentence alone is pretty still cool though, so yeah. Number 6. Agent Venom. Flash Thompson, the bully to Peter Parker and unknowingly his high school #1 fan. After he goes off to the army and loses both of his legs, he joins up with a secret government program, Project Rebirth 2.0, that sees him bond with the Venom symbiote to become Agent Venom, a symbiote super soldier who set off on his own as a hero, joining the Secret Avengers, the Guardians of the Galaxy, Thunderbolts, and fighting in lots and lots of stories before he lost the symbiote and eventually became Agent Anti-Venom. With the symbiote, Flash gets the superhero starter pack of powers, plus those awarded to hosts of symbiotes. So that's wall crawling, web generation, spider sense, plus invulnerability to spider sense, invisibility, symbiote tendrils, and shapeshifting, and hive mind, and all that extra good stuff. But being a soldier, he is also extremely adept with weapons. He's an awesome fan favorite character just like the original Venom, giving him a whole ton of the power of popularity. Number 5. Venom 2099. The Earth of Spider-Man 2099 is pretty awesome. Cyberpunk themes, President Doom, a seriously flawed Miguel O'Hara as Spider-Man with that awesome suit. It shouldn't be any surprise that the Venom of 2099 is just as awesome and pretty terrifying. The Venom symbiote in this world has been around for a long time, like long enough even to have evolved to have new abilities. Really cool stuff like acid blood and spit. This version of the symbiote bonded itself to Kron Stone, the son of Tyler Stone and the elder half-brother of Miguel O'Hara. Kinda confusing. The symbiote first appears when it tries to de-life Tyler in the hospital, and that is when Spider-Man intervenes. The fight goes on for a long time, like several issues long, with Venom making Spider-Man choose between his two loves and even de-lifing Spider-Man's former lover, Dana. After Miguel learned of Venom's weakness to sound, sonic sounds were emitted all over the city, stunning Venom and allowing Spider-Man to beat him. Later, the symbiote would merge with Roman the Submariner and flee into the ocean. But this version of the black goop really had some power, not to mention some anger issues. He was a true antithesis to Spider-Man, as Venom should be. Number 4. Host Rider. Ooh, wordplay. Well done. And also an extremely cool looking character with a Venom twist. Only it starts to make a little less sense the more you think about it. This Ghost Rider is actually Robbie Reyes, who, if you don't know, isn't actually the spirit of vengeance. He's actually the spirit of his uncle, who seems to have completely taken over his body. And somewhere along the line, we're not told when, the Venom symbiote bonded with them, creating this almost perfect chaotic parasitic being, basically just using the body of Robbie Reyes. Now, like I said, it kind of makes no sense. Ghost Rider is literally hellfire, and symbiotes are weak to fire, but I don't think anyone is really complaining. This guy is brutal. He dispatches SHIELD agents with ease, and he feeds the Calvin Zabo of his universe to his car. His car eats people! Come on. It is cool and terrifying all at the same time. This Host Rider has an ability called the Penance Kiss, which is very much like the Penance Stare, only with the mouth, determining people's guilt or innocence and then pretty much consuming their soul. I can't help but imagine what his voice sounds like. It's probably really cool. He's brutal, he's ruthless, he looks amazing, he's covered in fire, and they are Host Rider. Number 3. OTTO Werner Von Strange. In Devil's Reign Superior 4, we see one of the most powerful versions of Doctor Doom. And the funny thing is, he is combined with one of the villains you wouldn't think to be all that powerful. This Doctor Doom is combined with Dr. Octopus. So that's an interesting combo, but he's also fused together with Doctor Strange. There are a lot of doctors here. Yes. This Doom from Earth 8968 has become Sorcerer Supreme, and he is able to subdue Wolverine, Ghost Rider, Hulk, and regular versions of Doc Ock. He is easily able to best 3 of the strongest Marvel heroes at the same time. He has total command of the forces of magic and better control over his mechanical arms than the original OTTO does. He can manipulate the multiverse, communicating and casting spells over different realities, and can even pull the other OTTOs to his own Earth with a simple gesture. By his own volition, he has liquefied Shumagorath, had Dormammu grovel at his feet, and burned Null to ashes. These are all cosmic level threats that many times got close to destroying Earth 616 and its universe. Number 2. House of M. When the Avengers were deciding how to deal with Scarlet Witch, her brother Quicksilver came to her and influenced her to alter reality to make everyone's desires come to be. Sort of. And to change reality so that she was safe and everything was hunky-dory. She created a whole new reality called the House of M that saw her and her family being the rulers of Earth with her father Magneto in charge. That alone is an insane feat. The reality wasn't completely perfect though. Other than a few heroes having some problems and humans being hunted down by mutants, a few characters, namely Wolverine, could sense that something was up, and that this was not the way things were supposed to be. Once the Wolverine-led resistance unveiled the truth to everybody, Magneto, in a rage, used his powers to end Quicksilver's life in a pretty brutal and intense few comic panels. This broke Wanda even more than she already was, and it caused her to say one of her most famous lines: "No more mutants." This little sentence caused 986,618 of the mutant population of Earth to lose their powers completely. Number 1. Gwenom. Ooh, more wordplay. Even nicer. But she hasn't just got wordplay on her side. No, Spider-Gwen of Earth 65, or Ghost Spider, which is way better, has easily one of the best costumes of all the Spider heroes. Throw in a healthy dash of a symbiotic monster from outer space, notorious for giving great fashion advice, and, well, look at her. She's absolutely amazing. On top of that, Gwen sort of relies on Venom for her powers, since her original powers started to fade. But while that sounds bad, Gwen has actually learned to find a very healthy balance with her symbiote. The symbiote itself enhances whatever emotions the host has, right? So when she first bonded with Venom, thanks to a corrupt Matt Murdock Kingpin, who she was forced to team up with, she was rage-fueled and looking for revenge against the Rhino for attacking her father, and eventually against Murdock himself. But over time, she realized that she needed to control that and give Venom better qualities to enhance, in order to control and find balance with the symbiote. In a way, Venom actually helped her to become a better hero, all while still retaining that really, really sweet suit. Mwah. Chef's kiss, Cabela. Mwah. Coming in at number 10, we got the Scarlet Witch from the ONSLAUGHT Reborn universe, which is a copy of Counter-Earth from Heroes Reborn. She has all the same powers of Earth 616 Wanda and is one of the most powerful magicians in the Marvel Universe, able to conjure and counter spells. This version of Wanda also possessed something called Witch Sight. Witch Sight is the sight, which is basically a magical kind of vision that allows Wanda to be able to see things others cannot, and also perceive invisible and intangible people or objects. In this dimension, the Scarlet Witch is a member of the evil team known as the Masters of Evil. But under unspecified circumstances, Wanda left the Masters of Evil and became an Avengers member. This Scarlet Witch is practically the same as the 616 one though, and doesn't do anything particularly crazy, so number 10 she goes. Number 9. Gypsy Witch. All of the members of the Avengers were affected when Morgan Le Fay released her reality distortion wave. The distortion wave altered the time period for everyone into one that was honestly a pretty cool medieval setting. All the Avengers' clothes, thought processes, and speech patterns changed to fit into this setting. Scarlet Witch was one of the only ones though who retained her memories, as her powers countered those of Morgan Le Fay. She was kept imprisoned, but despite that fact, she was still able to use her power to reach out and unlock the memories of a few of the Avengers that had now become the Queen's elite guardsmen. She also pumped power into Wonder Man, and with the other Avengers' willpower, shifted reality back to the way it should be, and simultaneously defeated Morgan Le Fay. Number 8. Brother Mutant. Unlike almost any other versions of Scarlet Witch, Scarlet Warlock was a male version of the crazy powerful character from Earth 127, appearing in Exiles issue 85 from 2006. But if he wasn't already powerful enough with those powers, he was combined with this world's versions of Wolverine, Magneto, Quicksilver, and Mesmero to become Brother Mutant when he attempted to imbue Magneto with Wolverine's adamantium skeleton. Brother Mutant became a single entity with all their combined powers, and he swore to end the life of every non-mutant on Earth. Multiple teams of alternate versions of Wolverines were sent here to try and correct the mistake that was this being ever existing, and they almost all failed, except for the last group of Wolverines who, alongside the Exiles, were finally able to bring him down. Eventually. Number 7. Infamous Iron Man. After the events of Secret Wars and reality being brought back to normal, Victor Von Doom was unsatisfied with his life, and finding that he couldn't find satisfaction serving himself, even as God Emperor, he decided to switch his morality and try and serve and help others. He took on a bit of a mentor in Tony Stark, whom he had always respected, and when Tony Stark was put into a coma, Doom decided to take his place as the infamous Iron Man, which was a great reason to give us Dr. Doom in a highly advanced suit of Iron Man's Model Prime Mark 51 armor. While also being the coolest looking Iron Man ever, the armor was retrofitted into Doom's style and was used alongside his magical abilities. So, Iron Man with Doom's magic is basically what we have here. To make things even better, Doom's intellect and sorcery were near their peaks during this period in time, so he is truly an incredibly powerful hero, even if he does kinda go back to his old ways eventually. Number 6. Age of Apocalypse Wanda. The original Scarlet Witch in the dark dystopian timeline of Age of Apocalypse died, but she was cloned by human scientists later on after the mutants had kind of become the leading force in the world. She was resurrected specifically to redo her most devastating act from Earth 616. You know, the one where she erased almost all mutant powers? And she really got close to doing it too. It honestly seems like she was more powerful than the regular Scarlet Witch, considering she had just been cloned and already had access to the same level of power she had when she was going to get rid of mutant powers. And she was a conduit for the life force at that time, so yeah, that's kind of insane. But unfortunately for the Humies, the effect of the No More Mutants spell had a range of about 12 feet. Or so. And after she used the spell, she fell down lifeless, so ha! Joke's on you, humans. Number 5. Silver Witch. The Silver Witch is one of the most powerful variants of the Scarlet Witch, thanks to combining her tremendous magical ability with the power of her brother Quicksilver. The Silver Witch is one of the fastest superheroes in Marvel Comics, and she hails from the Earth TRN 852, or the 2021 Heroes Reborn universe, where the Avengers never formed, meaning her and her brother never reformed, and they joined some mutants protesting a bill that would force mutant registration, which led directly to the fight where Wanda absorbed and bonded Pietro's power with her own after he passed away fighting Blur, one of the members of the Squadron Supreme who replaced the Avengers. She was crazy powerful, but was also still pretty mentally disturbed. She could fire hexes at about 1,000 miles per hour, and she could fire 1,000 hexes a minute, which is just an insane thought. She removed part of Blur's soul and banished him to the Dread Dimension. She was eventually imprisoned in the Ravencroft Institute, but the speed of Quicksilver mixed with the magically chaos magic of Scarlet Witch, good lord. She also looked positively dashing, but you know. Number 4. Weapon Hex. Warp World. To really oversimplify it and cut out a lot of the details, there was a time in the story known as Infinity Wars where Gamora, wielding the Infinity Gauntlet, folded reality in half, merging souls together and creating a new reality known as Warp World. Some really cool characters came from this, including Laura Kinney as Weapon Hex. This character is an amalgamation of X-23 and Scarlet Witch. In this world, she was the 22nd attempt to create a vessel for the Dark Eldritch Demon, give me a sec, Mephithakaton. Nope, Mephithakaton. I got it. Mephithakaton. Who is a combo of Mephisto and Chthon, and who has an absolutely evil name that I hate with every inch of my soul. Why would you do this to me? Sarah Kinney, though, was impregnated with a mutant girl, combining the evolutionary's best enhancements and enchantments. She had a regenerative healing factor, retractable bone claws, chaos magic, including Scarlet Witch's hexes and magical abilities, plus necromancy. She was pretty crazy powerful and super cool, and she was a part of Warp World's Defenders. Number 3. May Parker Venom. Earth X. Earth 999, a world where basically every single person has powers, except things have gone apocalyptic, and where the daughter of Peter Parker, May Parker, is Venom. While her retired and cynical pops ain't too thrilled about it, she does actually have complete control over the symbiote thanks to her advanced and honed spider sense. She was eventually under the control of this kid, going by the Red Skull name, and thanks to her father and other Earth X classic heroes, was saved. With Venom and her father Spider-Man going on to join the super-powered police force and fight crime and supervillain threats together. She eventually, after the death was recruited by Kang the Conqueror as a multiversal team to fight the Apocalypse Twins. In addition to her proportional spider powers plus the enhanced spider sense, she gains all the usual symbiote powers plus a few extra, like what seems to be a rudimentary form of telepathy, and 'tis believed her symbiote could go on to mutate further to gain more powers, which is a good way for Marvel to say, we can do whatever we want with this. She is definitely one of the cooler incarnations of Venom, as are most characters on the Earth X world. Not of Venom, of their own perspective characters. You know what I meant. Number 2. End of Time Doom. Earth 14412 is home to a Dr. Doom who is more than just a Sorcerer Supreme. He is the Fist of Iron, the Star Brand Supreme, the Master of Mystic Vengeance. He is the End of Time Doom. He has powered himself up with the Star Brand, Iron Fist, the Eye of Agamotto and Cloak of Levitation, and a Spirit of Vengeance. In this reality, King Loki had destroyed all of humanity, with Doom being one of the few survivors. King Thor and his 3 daughters, the goddesses of thunder, restored life to the earth, and Doom came to conquer it. Naturally. He completely stomped the 3 granddaughters of old King Thor, who themselves were powerful enough to destroy Omnipotent City. And he was only stopped when old King Thor, who wielded the Odin Force, or more specifically the Thor Force, was also empowered by the Phoenix Force. Also, this Doom looked incredibly cool, but he was still not as powerful as the number 1 spot. Coming in at number 1, it's the Scarlet Witch from the Disassembled event. Now, I know this is the 616 version of Scarlet Witch. That is technically a variation, and it's very easily the most powerful one. For me, a big part of what shows that, other than creating the House of M, a whole new reality, is the Avengers Disassembled event. Wanda and Wasp were just chilling by the pool when Wasp mentioned Wanda's kids. And the only problem is that the existence of her children had been wiped from her mind. And when Wasp brought it up, it brought all those memories back, and Wanda absolutely lost it. Several things happened next, with none of the Avengers even knowing the cause. For starters, Scott Lang Ant-Man was killed when a previously deceased Jack of Hearts showed up and detonated. While the heroes were trying to figure out what just happened, Vision showed up saying that he was not in control of himself and that he is sorry, as he also began to detonate. Then Jennifer Walters' She-Hulk began to get uncharacteristically raged and tore Vision in half. Next, we see Tony at a UN conference randomly start to act as though he was incredibly drunk, even though he hadn't had a drink, and he verbally accosted the Latvian ambassador and threatened him. Then, a whole invasion of the Kree just randomly came out of nowhere, resulting in the passing of Hawkeye, and then the Kree just randomly left as quickly as they showed up. All of that was Wanda Maximoff using her magic. It almost led to the superhero community deciding to put Wanda into the afterlife, and led to her creating the House of M reality.